What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew First Culture Podcast. This is Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that. Today, I'm going to get into lesson number 2 of the leadership lessons learned. So, a couple episodes ago, I started a new series. If you didn't catch that, it's just basically it's a list that I created to kind of give out to any of the new, younger officers in my department and or even people that are someday going to reach that level. And it basically is just some of the biggest lessons I had to learn when I was a company or a station officer. So I just feel like there's a lot of value in that, just the sharing of lessons learned and experience. And so I decided just to kind of turn that list basically into a series. And this is number 2. Number 2 is you can't take everyone with you. So, and I try to keep these short, but it's hard to keep them very short sometimes. This lesson was a big one for me because as a leader, I took it very seriously, the responsibility of my people, the readiness of my people, the attitude of my people, just trying to even help each other become better people in general. And so when I have somebody that isn't willing to perform at the level that everybody else is and giving me what I feel is their all, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to figure out how to handle that. I I took it as a personal challenge almost. You know, you have people, and I'm sure it's like this everywhere. You have people that just, they bounce around a lot. They'll be here for a while, and then, you know, whatever happens, they get sent out somewhere else. And so when I have people like this, I don't want to just send them down the road again. I want to be, and this is the dialogue going on inside my mind during this time. I want to be the one that makes a difference finally. I want to be the leader that somehow pulls out the greatness that's inside of this person because I know it's there. And I want him or her to truly see who they are and who they can be. So that's where I was, and because of that deep desire to make a difference and to help this person, it really clouded everything else that I was doing. So the lesson kind of that I had to learn was sometimes we've taken someone as far as we can take them. Sometimes you have somebody that eh, as much as you can try, as many different ways as you can try, you've brought him or her to the maximum level that you as a leader can bring them. And so because of that, it's time to send them somewhere else and get somebody else in that seat that is going to take advantage of the leadership and the mentoring and all the other things. Because for one, that's exactly what's happening. You're putting a lot of time and effort into somebody that is not going to give you any return. Not me personally, but you're not going to see any return in their actions and their behaviors and their choices. And so opening up that seat and freeing it to bring somebody else in allows you to hopefully start this process with somebody else that you can make a difference in their life now. And so that's kind of where I had to get to. And it was a huge, I would say, a moral dilemma for me as a leader because it's like, I, I don't want to give up. I don't want to to stop trying. I don't want to move this person down the line without seeing that I did something good. But it was a necessity because what I didn't understand that somebody had to bring up to me was that really what I was doing in reality was that I was putting so much into this person. And for one, it was taking so much out of me. It was really just sucking everything I had to give for this one person without really getting anything back. Like I said, I wasn't seeing the return on that investment that should have been. And for two, what I was doing in reality was that I was spending all of this time and effort and energy and emotional energy on one person, and I was really in effect ignoring everybody else on the crew. And I wouldn't say completely ignoring, but as far as the energy I put into them, as far as the just trying to be a leader to them or a mentor to them, it was very, very minimal in comparison to what the other person was getting. And so that was causing issues. And so I'm very thankful that somebody reached out to me and was honest enough to have that conversation with me to let me know that, because it just never occurred to me that I was allowing this to happen. I was allowing my higher performers and even my, the ones in the middle of the road, I was allowing them to feel like they were being ignored, like I, just discounted what they were doing because I was focusing on one person. And from their eyes, of course, what this looks like is, I mean, it's just like when you are thinking about how you're dealing with your kids. You got to think about the not just the cause and effect of the outside of just what is going on and how I'm going to handle this. You got to almost dig deeper and say, all right, if I use this form of discipline, or if I make this choice, how is that going to look to them or others? And that's what it was doing, is it was almost saying, well, I'm doing all this. I'm doing everything he asked me to do. I'm going above and beyond, and it's like he doesn't really care. All he is worried about right now is focusing on this other person that is not really doing anything. So why should I do something? That's what I was allowing to start to happen, and I never saw it. Never saw it at all. So from that lesson that I learned, I had to kind of break through another moral dilemma as a leader and really decide where my time and energy was going to go. And some of my classes I bring this up, and the numbers are all made up because who knows, but I I would say you break the fire service down into 20, 60, 20. So you got 20% is your high performers, the people that are the go-to get them done people. You got 20% that's on the bottom that they're the cave dwellers. I can't remember where I got that from, but the cave dwellers are constantly against virtually everything. These are the people that gripe about everything. They are not happy with anything. They don't like fires. They don't like medical calls. They don't like anything. And so you got the 20 on top, the 20 on bottom, and of course you got the 60 in the middle. They're decent firefighters. They do their job, they do what they're asked, but they're just not going to do anything above. And the scary part of this is that 60% is the vast majority of the fire service. And they're not they're not only, close to being better, but they're close to being worse too. And so by putting all my energy and focus into the the lower 20%, for one, I'm not getting any return on that investment. And for two, I'm ignoring the top 80%. And so it's just it's just not worth your time and your effort. And so what I decided to do was I decided to start basically flipping my entire mindset. I started to focus on that top 20%, or just forget the numbers. I started focusing on the higher performers, spending my energy and effort into to trying to keep them going and inspired and pushing forward. And as that is happening, I'm also working to have them help me recruit that middle ground. So we're we're pushing the top forward. We're gaining a lot of investment. But the magical part of that as well is we're we're using this group now to start bringing people from that middle ground up the chain and starting to raise their efforts and their energy and their skill level. And so once that started happening, that that was a really powerful kind of change for us. It really made a huge impact on the crew. And I think there's a lot of value there. So the question is, what do we just let the cave dwellers, we let them do whatever they want, or we, totally don't keep them accountable for anything, or, what is the line in the sand there? And personally, I'm going to say I don't know. That's for you to really decide. But for me, no, I'm not going to let them do whatever they want. I'm not going to let them just sit in a recliner all day while we're doing stuff outside, training, getting better. They are going to be involved in things that we do as a crew. Am I going to drag them out if we're doing some extra stuff, working out, or just doing some things that aren't really included in that crew training? No, I will let them know this is what we're doing, but I'm not going to drag them out. I'm not going to waste all this time and energy and air trying to incorporate them everything we do. I'm going to hold them accountable for what needs to be done. But the extra stuff that separates the people that are really good at the job and those that can make it work, those extra things, I'm just going to let them know what we're doing and let them choose. If they choose to involve themselves, that's great. I hope they do. But I'm not going to sacrifice the energy and the effort that everybody else has given while I drag this anchor around. And so again, it was these things were some big moral walls that I had to figure out how to maneuver either around or over. Really what it came down to, I think, is, and this is, I don't know if this is Steve's personal quote, but heard this from a class from Steve Brzezinski. He said, "We can't force someone to hear a message that they're not ready to receive." So basically, what that is saying is sometimes, and this is not just the low side of the scale. This is me. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to something multiple times, and each time I hear it, I hear something different. I pull something different out because I wasn't ready to hear those other things at first. I wasn't ready to hear what I heard the third time, that second time. So this is for everybody. If somebody is not in a place mentally, emotionally, whatever it is, to receive whatever message you're sharing, that's out of our control. We cannot control that. Our job is to plant the seeds. And that's what we have to remember. We can never underestimate the power of planting seeds. We have nothing to do with if and when those seeds are going to propagate and sprout and grow a giant tree. We have no power over that. The power that we have is in sharing those seeds, sharing the message, sharing the inspiration that we have for serving others, sharing the passion that we have for whatever area we have passion in. Those are seeds that we throw out, and hopefully the right people that need to hear them, need to see them, need to feel them are there. But again, if they're not, we have to trust that sooner or later the right people will be there. And as long as we keep sharing, that's really all we can do. So again, we can't force someone to hear a message that they are not willing or ready to receive. But never underestimate the power of planting seeds. And that's ultimately the only thing that we can control. So to wrap it up, this is another saying or quote that I have no idea where it came from, but you see it quite a bit. But I think it speaks volumes to exactly what we're talking about today. Lower your standards and lose your winners. Raise your standards and lose your losers. So that right there tells us that if we're trying to push the minimum standards, if we're not wanting to go a step above that, we just, as long as we are hitting those minimum standards, we're good. We're not going to do anything else. The high performers don't want to be involved in that. The people that are truly making a difference in the people's lives and in the world, they don't want to be pushed at that low level. They want to be pushed and challenged at a much higher level. So they aren't going to stay in that environment. By raising the standards and by setting the standards every time you do something, yeah, you're going to run some people off, but it's the people that you want run off. It's the people that aren't willing to continue to challenge themselves and to continue to push the envelope and grow both individually and as a crew. Those are the people that are going to run when you start raising the standards. But the ones that are going to stay when you raise the standards are the ones that you want by your side. And so right there, that's kind of how I want to wrap all this up. If we are wanting to attract and keep the best people, the best performers, the best firefighters, then we have to be okay with raising the standard every day, growing, learning, pushing ourselves, pushing the envelope, challenging ourselves, our abilities. That's how we keep the best. That's how we draw the best towards us. And that's how those that are at the other end of that spectrum just kind of find their way out of the door on their own. And to me, that is a win-win. And so hopefully you got something out of that, man. This is a lesson that, I mean, this whole thing is really probably 3 or 4 years in the in the process of when it started and kind of towards the end of when I had things figured out. So this wasn't a 20-minute lesson that I learned. This was a long ordeal, and so it made a really big impact on me as a person. It made a big impact on me as a leader, and I hope that it will help you as well. So thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Please support the podcast by sharing it, liking it, subscribing, and keep pushing forward. Keep sharing that message. Thank you. And remember, no matter what or where you come from, great things can come from you. Thank you.